Hello, dear students. Today we will go through the second chapter of Democratic Politics of Class 9, that is, what is democracy? Why democracy? This chapter is available in two parts. This is the first part of the chapter. The name of the chapter is What is Democracy and Why Democracy? In this first part, we will study the first half of the chapter, that is, what is democracy? So, before going through any of the explanations or in details, let us first of all recall some general definitions of democracy given by different people. Father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, he said, the spirit of democracy cannot be established in the midst of terrorism, whether governmental or popular. Now, if in general we talk about what is democracy, democracy is a form of government where people has the power to choose his or her representatives. Some other definitions are also there. After that, when we elect those representatives will form the government and make policies on the behalf of the people according to the powers and functions given by the Constitution. People also have the power to remove the representative if they are not functioning his or her duty properly. Now, what is democracy? The word democracy has been derived from the Greek word demos and kratia. Demos means people, kratia means rule. According to Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of USA, defined democracy as government of the people, by the people, for the people. Now, let us discuss, these were some of the general definitions of democracy given by different people. Now, let us discuss what is democracy in detail. Students are required to kindly note down the points and hear whatever is told properly. Democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. This is the definition. But this definition is not adequate to define democracy. We need to add up other features also. Now, what are those features? Democracy is a form of government in which rulers elected by the people take all the major decisions. Elections offer a choice and fair opportunity to the people to change the current rulers. This choice and opportunity is available to all people on an equal basis. The exercise of this choice leads to a government limited by basic rules of constitution and citizens' right. In any country, we find people of different ethnic groups, different communities living together. In that kind of social diversity, government take different ways of power sharing. There can be difference of opinions, or history proves divisions of the countries are all due to these variations in the society. We have also faced partition of India in the year 1947. But these different groups can be able to live together if a government is able to accommodate all. Then government cannot be permanent winner or loser. It can be changed by the people if they are not performing well, if they are not performing according to the need of the people. In a democracy, the final decision-making power must rest with those elected by the people. Means who can take the decisions? The elected, those elected members, those who are elected by the people. A democracy must be based on free and fair elections, where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing also. It is not that the ruling party is getting favor of winning every time. It is having a fair chance of losing also. In a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. A democratic government rules within limits set by the constitutional law and citizens' rights. Democracy provides a method to deal with differences and conflicts. It enhances the dignity of the citizen. Now, in this chapter, we are going to read many stories from different parts of the world. Through these stories, we'll be able to discuss various governments and organizations. We call some of these democracies. Other are the non-democratic regimes. Look, students, being a democratic and pretending to be a democratic are two different things. Mind you, I repeat it again, being a democratic and pretending to be a democratic country are the two different things. It is not that only elections are there, people they have chosen their representatives. It means that the country is a democratic country. Now, in the later chapter, we are going to discuss such stories. Now, before going through those stories, let us have a look over the difference between democratic and non-democratic government. Government formed by the representatives. Democratic government are formed by the representatives. Representatives are elected in a free and fair elections. Major decisions by the elected leaders are being taken. Citizens have the right to oppose policy and action made by the government. Citizens have voting rights, one person, one vote, one value. Whereas in non-democratic form of government, it is a rule by force by a single person or a group. Representatives are not elected by the people. Major decisions are taken by non-elected leaders. Major decisions are taken by non-elected leaders. No criticism of government or ruler is tolerated. They are imprisoned. Those who criticize the government, they are imprisoned. Where? In non-democratic form of government. No voting right is given to the citizen. This is the basic difference between democratic form of government and non-democratic form of government. Now, let us start the tour of democracy by reading the features of democracy, and later we'll discuss all these features in detail with case studies. Now, features of democracy. Rulers elected by the people. Major decisions by elected leaders. Free and fair elections. Elections in regular intervals. One person, one vote, one value. Rule of law and respect of rights. Now let us start our tour of democracy with these features with several case studies from different countries. Now the first one which I am going to talk about is Pakistan. I told you, being a democratic country and pretending to be a democratic country are the two different things. Now, Pakistan. Why Pakistan under General Musharraf should not be called a democracy? Let's get answer to it. After that, we will discuss in detail. In Pakistan, General Musharraf led a military coup. Now, what is military coup? When the political power is taken away by the military, when all the political power is taken away by military or the army forcefully, is called military coup. So in Pakistan, General Parvez Musharraf led a military coup and overthrew a democratically elected government and declared, he is not elected, declared himself the chief executive of the country. Later he conducted a referendum. Now the question is, what is referendum? The referendum means yes or no. Means people have to answer with the help of their votes in yes or no, whether they accept him or not. Later he conducted a referendum which was based on malpractices and fraud. He changed his designation as president in 2002. In August 2002, he issued a legal framework order that amended the Constitution of Pakistan. According to this order, the president can dismiss the national or provincial assemblies. The work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by National Security Council, which is dominated by military officers, and mind you, they are not elected. Civil cabinet is elected, but they are supervised by NSC, National Security Council, which is dominated by military officers, and they are not elected. After passing this law, elected representatives have some powers, but the final power rests with military officers and General Musharraf himself. Because of these reasons, Pakistan under General Musharraf should not be called a democracy. Now, let us discuss all the things in detail, this story in detail. Actually, one of the feature of democracy is major decisions should be taken by elected leaders. A democratic government is one in which people's representatives participate in decision making process. People's representatives means to whom people have elected. They own a collective responsibility for all the decisions taken by the government. There are examples where representatives of people are chosen, but they are not allowed to participate in decision-making process. This happens in many dictatorship and monarchy form of government. Now, let us discuss the case of Pakistan in detail. In Pakistan, General Parvez Musharraf led a military coup in October 1999. He overthrew a democratically elected government and declared himself the chief executive of the country. Later, he changed his designation to president and in 2002 held a referendum in the country that granted him a 5-year extension. Pakistani media, human rights organizations, and democracy activists said that the referendum was based on malpractices and fraud. In August 2002, he issued a legal framework order that amended the Constitution of Pakistan. According to this order, the president can dismiss the national or provincial assemblies. The work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by a National Security Council, which is dominated by military officers. After passing this law, elections were held to the national and state assemblies. So, Pakistan has had elections, but elected representatives have some powers only. And the final power rests with military officers and General Musharraf himself. I clearly told you, being a democratic and pretending to be a democratic are two different things. Clearly, there are many reasons why Pakistan under General Musharraf should not be called a democracy. But let us focus on one of these. Can we say that the rulers are elected by the people in Pakistan? No. The answer is no. Why? Because people may have elected their representatives to the national and provincial assemblies, but those elected representatives are not really the rulers. They cannot take the final decisions. The power to take final decision rests with army officials and with Parvez Musharraf. This happens in many dictatorships and monarchies. They formally have an elected parliament and government. Formally have an elected parliament and government, but the real power is in hand of the non-elected people. So, the first feature of democracy is, in a democracy, the final decision-making power must rest with those elected by the people. The final decision making power should be in the hand of the elected representatives. This is the first feature of democracy. Now let us move towards the story of China. Should we consider the elections held in China are democratic elections? Again, the answer is no. Why? Parliament of China, National People's Congress. It has 3,000 members elected from China. In China, single party system is practiced. Only Communist Party is there. Before contesting elections, a candidate needs the approval of the Chinese Communist Party. Only those who are member of Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest election. The government is always formed by Communist Party of India. So, only single party is there, so there is no choice of winning or losing the election. This is the story of China. Same how Mexico. Should we consider the elections held in Mexico democratic elections? The answer is again no. Why? Since its independence in 1930, every election was won by a PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party. Opposition parties did contest elections, but PRI uses many dirty tricks to win elections. All those who were employed in government offices had to attend its party meetings. Teachers of government schools used to force parents to vote for the PRI. Media largely ignored the activities of opposition political parties, except to criticize them. Media only criticized the opposition party. Means media, the fourth pillar of democracy, was also not independent. Sometimes the polling booths were shifted from one place to another in the last minute, which made it difficult for the people to cast their votes. The PRI spent a large sum of money in the campaign for its candidate. Now, 2 stories we studied, one from China, another from Mexico. So, what is the second feature of democracy? Free and fair electoral competition. In democracy, the ruler must be truly people's representatives. To choose representatives, we need a system of elections. And elections could have some meaning and significance only if it is held free and fair manner. A free election is one where every person has an equal right to vote. Vote without any fear and threat. A fair election is one in which those persons who are currently in power have a fair chance of losing. But in both the cases, from China and from Mexico, we didn't find any of these. Now, let us see the case in detail. In China, elections are regularly held after every 5 years for electing the country's parliament, called National People's Congress. The National People's Congress has the power to appoint the president of the country. It has nearly 3,000 members elected from all over 3,000 members elected from all over China. Some members are elected by army. Before contesting elections, a candidate needs the approval of Chinese Communist Party. Only those who are member of Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest elections. The government is always formed by Communist Party. So this is the story of China. Let us see in detail about Mexico. Since its independence in 1930, Mexico holds elections after every 6 years to elect its president. The country has never been under a military or dictator rule. Never under military or dictator rule. But until 2000, every election was won by party called PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party. Opposition parties did contest elections but never managed to win. Now why? The PRI was known to use many dirty tricks to win elections. All those who were employed in government offices had to attend these party meetings. Teachers of government schools used to force parents to vote for the PRI. Media, the fourth pillar of democracy, was largely ignored the activities of opposition parties. Media only criticized the opposition party. Sometimes the polling booths were shifted from one place to another in the last minute, which made it difficult for people to cast their votes. The PRI spent a large sum of money in the campaign for its candidates. Now, looking at these two stories, should we consider elections described above as examples of people electing their rulers? The answer is again no. Reading these examples, we get a sense that we cannot call it a democratic regime. There are many problems here. In China, the elections do not offer people any serious choice. Only one party is there, no choice. They have to choose the ruling party and the candidates approved by it. Can we call this a choice? No. In the Mexican example, people seem to really have a choice, but in practice, they had no choice. Why? There was no way the ruling party could be defeated, even if people were against it. These are not fair elections. So, what is the second feature of democracy? A democracy must be based on a free and fair elections where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. Now, you can see on the slide Saudi Arabia. I've given this map so that you can locate it clearly. If again it is not clear to you on the world map, look at it. Let us have, first of all, have brief explanation, brief discussion. Later on we'll have explanation over it. Until 2015 in Saudi Arabia, women do not have the right to vote. Estonia, you can point out on the world map, Estonia. Estonia has made its citizenship rules in such a way that people belonging to Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. Next one is Fiji. In Fiji, the electoral system is such that the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of Indian Fijian. Now, who was Indian Fijian? People who at the time of British rule were taken to Fiji as plantation workers. Those are Indian Fijians. So, indigenous Fiji means who are the proper resident of Fiji. They are not plantation workers. So, the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fijian. Now, let us discuss this in detail. Each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. A true democracy grants its citizens to vote. Universal adult franchise means a person who has attained the age of 18 or is an adult can cast their vote disregarding to which caste, which religion, which sex they belong to, whether they are rich or poor, they are educated or uneducated. It means all adults have right to vote without any discrimination based on sex, color, race, caste or class. Each person can cast one vote. All votes are counted. The person who gets the maximum number of votes get elected. But here story is quite different. If you look at Saudi Arabia, in Saudi Arabia, women do not have the right to vote. Means they do not enjoy equal rights. Equal rights are denied to them. If I talk about Estonia, Estonia has made its citizenship rules in such a way that people belonging to Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. If I talk about Fiji, in Fiji, the electoral system is such that vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fijian. So, we come to a conclusion that the third feature of democracy is, in a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. Now, let us quickly move towards the next story, next case study. Zimbabwe. How is Zimbabwe government undemocratic and autocratic? Listen to the story very carefully. Zimbabwe has been ruled by ZANU-PF. Yes, it is a political party, the party that led the freedom struggle of Zimbabwe. Its leader, Robert Mugabe, is popular but also uses unfair practices in elections. Zimbabwe had been ruled by ZANU-PF, the party that led the freedom struggle. Robert Mugabe, very famous personality, is very popular, although he is no more in the world, but He was actually very popular, but he used unfair means and practices to win the election. Over the years, his government has changed the constitution several times to increase the power of the president and make him less accountable. Less accountable means he is not answerable to the people. Whatever the decisions are being taken by him, if there is any ill effect of that decision, so he is not accountable, he is not answerable to the people. So he changed the constitution several times, which increased his power and lessened his accountability. Opposition party workers are harassed and their meetings disrupted. Public protest and demonstration against the government are declared illegal. Means if anyone is found protesting and demonstrating against the government, they are imprisoned. There is a law that limits the right to criticize the president. Means you cannot criticize your elected leader also. Televisions and radios, media, the fourth pillar of democracy, are controlled by the government and give only the ruling party's version. Means whatever the views of ruling party is there, it is shown. Means a good image of government is shown on the television only. Why? Because government is having control over it. The government has ignored some court judgments also that went against it and has pressurized judges. A rule of law and respect for rights. This is the fourth feature of democracy. The state should respect some basic rights of the citizens. It didn't happen in Zimbabwe. People should be free to think, to have opinion, to express their views in public, to form associations, to protest. Everyone should be equal in the eyes of the law. But did it happen in Zimbabwe? The answer is no. Let us discuss the case of Zimbabwe in detail. Zimbabwe attained independence from white minority rule in 1980. Since then, the country has been ruled by ZANU-PF, the party that led the freedom struggle. Its leader, Robert Mugabe, has been ruling the country since independence. Elections have been held regularly and always won by the same party, that is ZANU-PF. President Mugabe is popular but also uses unfair practices in elections. Over the years, this government has changed the constitution several times to increase the powers of the president and make him less accountable. Opposition party workers are harassed, their meeting disrupted. We have already discussed in the previous part about this. The example of Zimbabwe shows that popular approval of the rulers is necessary in a democracy, but it is not sufficient. Popular governments can be undemocratic too. Popular leaders can be autocratic. If we wish to assess a democracy, it is important to look at the elections. But it is equally important to look before and after the elections also. There should be sufficient room for normal political activities, including political opposition, in the period before elections. This requires that the state should respect some basic rights of the citizens. They should be free to think, to have opinion, to express these in public, to form associations, to protest and take other political actions. Everyone should be equal in the eyes of the law. Thus, the fourth feature of democracy is a democratic government rules within limits set by constitutional law and citizens' right, means rule of law and respect for right. So this was all about the first part of this chapter. We discussed about several case studies. First of all, we discussed the general meaning definition of democracy. Later on, we discussed in detail that what is democracy and what are the features of democracy with different case studies. Hope you understood. Have a nice day. Thank you.